Ah, high school. The imagery of child-infested hallways, homework, and undisputed leadership. Hello, I'm a British person. For years now, St. Patrick's has been led into the future by none other than Mr. Bristo. However, his term is coming to a definitive end. And so today, with permission from the leaders of the school, they've agreed to take a break from their regular academic activities and instead present the prestigious life of Mr. Bristo in its entirety from beginning to end. Indeed, after watching this, you'll know Mr. Bristo as if you'd been born his conjoined twin. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Mr. Bristo, a living biography. And finally, we come to the moment you've all been waiting for. SPHS #1 all-time principal of the century. There can be little doubt that this man changed the very position itself with his speed, skill, and sheer stick-to-itiveness. I speak of none other than the big man himself, Mr. Bristo. But Mr. Bristo wasn't always the mean machine we know and love today. Let's take a look back and see from whence this fine man came, shall we? Our story begins November 1st, 1950. Like many children, Mr. Bristo was born. Sometime later, he attended high school. After graduating from high school, he attended university. It was while attending university that he reached a fork in the road. A fork of destiny. But Mr. Bristo had his demons, and eventually his demons had him. He could either go to teacher's college, become a teacher, and eventually become principal, or embrace his other love, Greasing. He was a big fan of the movie Grease and John Travolta, but he eventually made his decision and has never had any regrets. But there is always the what-ifs. While Mr. Bristo didn't start up his acting career like he would have liked, he did manage to start something else, a family. He was 13 years of age when he danced with a girl for the first time. It was at that moment that he realized something about this curious specimen of human life. He enjoyed their company. It didn't take long for him to find a girl of his own, Kathy, and marry her. Shortly thereafter, they began having children, and Mr. Bristo had himself the makings of a fine family. Like many things in life, though, life itself cannot always be taken at face value. Mr. Bristo was not always the incredibly astute man we know today. Much of his past, like that of Batman, is shrouded in mystery. One of these such mysteries revolves around his first name, or lack thereof. A common school of thought is that it is simply Gord, short for Gordon. However, scientists scoff at this idea and find it preposterous. One of the most popular theories is that it is simply Mr. No other first name, just Mr. itself, which would demand a certain amazing amount of respect for a man, which is very according to Mr. Bristo. Another revolves around this vault here. It is said that students who get too many detentions are held captive in here. Others say it's some kind of torture chamber. Others say it's simply a safe where expensive belongings are held. However, we will never know. And Mr. Bristo, like this vault, we may never know all there is to know about him, making him one of history's greatest anomalies. Here's what some other students had to say about Mr. Bristo.
It's pretty sweet, I guess.
I'm scared to death of that man, but gosh darn, do I respect him.
He's a good guy.
He definitely works out.
We'll miss you. That's the Carlos.
How do you think I became Prime Minister?
Cool.
Thank you, Mr. Bristo, for saving me from that ferocious grizzly bear.
Mr. Bristo bailed me out of jail twice. No questions.
When flying to Hawaii for retirement, make sure there's no snakes on your plane.
Mr. Bristo? I hear he's not even real. He's just a myth made up to scare the students.
And how do you explain the fact that we see him every day?
Well, people have said they've seen Bigfoot before.
Buzzkill, exposure. Ain't got nothing on me. Thanks, Mr. B.
That man is a liar and a cheat.
We love you. And so it was, through all trials and adversities, that Mr. Bristo, principal, came to be. There truly aren't enough words to describe what this man brings to the educational environment. But one thing can be certain, the lives of several hundred people in St. Pat's itself will never be the same again.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And
hug me, then I'll say goodbye. Yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I wanna really, really, really wanna say. If you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. Make it last forever. Friendship never ends. If you wanna be my lover, you have got to give. Peace up, A-Town down.